встречались в 2019 году, когда открывали совместный пункт пропуска Паланка-Маяки в Одесской области. Поэтому с вашей организацией мы уже знакомы довольно-таки давно и даже сотрудничали. Сегодня вкратце я попытаюсь объяснить, рассказать практическую часть применения системы NCTS на территории Украины, как оформляется Т1, какие есть с этим сложности, куда мы сдвинулись и как мы к этому и шли. Поэтому, если можно начинать, я немножечко сделаю презентацию нашей компании, и дальше мы пройдемся по вашим всем вопросам.
Позвольте перевести.
Да.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am glad to meet everyone again. Actually, we've already met in 2019 when the jointly operated BCP Palanka-Mаяki was launched, and we have actually had cooperation. Today, I will tell you about the practical part of NCTS application in the territory of Ukraine. And if you're ready, I will start by presenting our association.
Thank you.
Компания «Укртрансагент» работает на рынке таможенно-брокерских услуг с 2007 года на основании разрешения Государственной таможенной службы Украины и уполномочена на деятельность таможенного брокера. Основными видами деятельности это оформление в таких операций, в таких режимах, как транзит, импорт, экспорт товара, в пунктах пропуска через государственную границу в режиме 24/7.
The company Transagent has been operating at the market since 2007, and it's authorized as a customs broker, and we have been carrying out our activities in such regimes as transit, import, and export at the border crossing points of Ukraine in the mode 24/7.
С октября 2022 года Украина присоединилась к Конвенции о процедуре совместного транзита и начала международное применение в системе NCTS. Наша компания была одной из первых, кто начал работать в этой системе.
Starting from October 2022, the Ukraine has joined the protocol on the common transit, and we have started applying the NCTS system. And our company is one of the first one who started carrying out activities.
Основные преимущества NCTS – это упрощение процедур транзитных операций с помощью системы NCTS, которая дает возможность для быстрого и простого оформления транзитных операций, что в свое время уменьшает время и уменьшает время, затрачиваемое на процесс оформления, что в свою очередь улучшает эффективность работы таможенной службы.
The main advantage of using NCTS in the simplification of procedures in transit operations, which speeds up the process of transit operations, thus decreasing the time of clearance, which improves the activities of the customs service.
Система NCTS позволяет участникам транзитных операций эффективно обмениваться информацией, что уменьшает количество бумажной документации и улучшает контроль за перемещением товаров между странами-участниц конвенции.
NCTS allows carry out the information exchange efficiently, thus speeding up this process between the countries involved.
Также система NCTS обеспечивает более эффективный контроль над транзитными перемещениями, что помогает предотвращать незаконное перемещение товаров через границы.
In addition, NCTS allows carrying out control more efficiently and thus prevent the cross-border violations.
Я вкратце попытался сделать маленькую презентацию, что такое NCTS. Поэтому давайте, если у вас есть вопросы по первому блоку, мы попытаемся с нашими представителями максимально ответить на все ваши вопросы.
I've prepared a presentation, but before we come to it, I will answer your questions regarding to things that I've already mentioned, like the first block of our information. If there are no questions, then we can proceed.
Yeah. Thank you. We joined this meeting on behalf of EUBAM. It's me, Mariana Balan, as a customs expert, and Mr. Ciprian Rusu. He is also involved with customs and borders expertise. We would like, in the spirit of the EU solidarity lanes for Ukraine, mostly to understand how NCTS helps you in managing the cargo flow when it comes for transit, and also to understand if there are any possibilities for us as EU mission to help you in making your operations more feasible, or any kind of support or advice that you would find it helpful. So we are very interested in knowing how the real experience in working with NCTS is so far.
Здравствуйте, благодарю за предоставленную информацию. Меня зовут Марьяна Балан, я таможенный эксперт. Также в встрече принимает участие Чиприан Русу, участник группы поддержки EUBAM по платформе пути солидарности между ЕС и Украиной. И хотелось бы понять, каким образом NCTS помогает управлять таможенным потоком, когда речь идет о транзите. И также хотели бы спросить у вас, есть ли какая-то возможность с нашей стороны предоставить вам поддержку, какой-либо совет. И мы хотели бы узнать, как фактически обстоят дела с применением NCTS на данный момент.
Спасибо за вопрос. Я буду тогда по порядку отвечать. Какие есть преимущества в том, что Украина вступила в систему NCTS? Да? Она уже здесь не новая. Ну, первая причина, все знаете, что у нас идет сейчас большая война с нашими соседями недружелюбными. И в связи с тем, что часть портов были заблокированы, и выпускная спроможность по-украински, это выпускная способность пунктов пропуска, в частности моря, вся легла на автомобильные перевозки, где скопилось большое количество автомобилей. И когда там до 1-22 мы были еще не в системе, все Т1 оформлялись на в стране, в которую въезжала непосредственно. Это занимало дополнительные 50-60 минут, пока водитель шел в местные агенции, подавал пакет документов, они ему готовили. Тогда уже на сегодняшний момент у водителей есть возможность этот документ оформить на территории Украины и ехать, не тратив тем самым 30, 40, 50 минут в пункте пропуска суміжної держави на оформление данной услуги, так как сторона уже осуществляет только пропуск, а открытие гарантии осуществляется здесь. Что, в свою очередь, значительно збільшує пропускну спроможність пунктів пропуску. Вот так. Не совсем могу по-русски уже. Когда-то очень хорошо общался.
I will answer your questions in order. First of all, what are the advantages of NCTS application? To begin with, it's of course the ongoing war. Because of the ports that were blocked, the capacity of border crossing points, of road border crossing points, was under great pressure because lots of vehicles were accumulated and queued up at the road border crossing points. And before NCTS was used, like before October 2022, it took additional 50-60 minutes to prepare and clear the necessary documents, and the driver had to submit a set of documents. And now when NCTS is applied, they don't need to spend these 30 up to 50 minutes to use this service. Thus, the capacity of border crossing points has been increased thanks to that.
Также основным преимуществом является это единый таможенный документ, единая таможенная декларация. До 2022 года мы не имели такой возможности, и в случае проезда транзитом через территорию Украины грузов наша компания была вынуждена совмещать несколько процедур в одну, дабы это было максимально удобно перевозчику. То есть Европу они проезжали, допустим, по Т1, Украину они проезжали по национальной системе, дальше, куда они въезжали, если это Молдова, например, там третья система. И перевозчик должен был иметь 3 номера документа, 3 декларации, то с 1 октября 2022 года уже аннулировалось, и на сегодняшний день мы можем оформить единственный документ, по которому перевозчик следует в страну назначения.
Another advantage is the single customs document that started being used only from October 2022. Because before that, the carriers had to use T1 when they were covering Europe, and then another document when they were going through Ukraine, and then there was Moldova, and there was the third system to be used. So there were 3 document numbers and 3 declarations. Starting from October 2022, there is only 1 document that is used.
В свою очередь, это же значительно удешевляет стоимость предоставления также услуг, поскольку, как я ранее сказал, документ оформляется один, а не 3 разных. Что для перевозчиков в наше время это имеет значительную такую причину.
Thus, the cost of services has significantly decreased because only 1 document is used instead of 3, which is a great advantage for the carriers.
Для нас, как для бизнеса, что дало присоединение к конвенции, это открытие новых рынков, поскольку мы были ограничены только национальным законодательством и действовали в рамках границ своей страны. На сегодняшний же момент мы можем оформлять как из Украины в направлении стран-членов конвенции, также самое оформлять документы с стран Европейского Союза, единый документ, по которому перевозчик доезжает непосредственно до таможни назначения. Простыми словами, мы уходим от такого понятия, которое у нас было и есть по национальной системе, это предварительное декларирование. В связи с появлением Т1 открываем в таможне в Германии данную тэшку, и она непосредственно доезжает до внутренней таможни уже здесь, допустим, в Киеве, где потом импортеру придется произвести только операции по очистке импорта.
For us as a business, the fact of joining this connection meant that we could open new markets for us, because previously we were limited by our national legislation and we are carrying out activities within our countries. But now we can open 1 document using which the carrier will reach the country of destination. The so-called preliminary customs clearance. Since we have this T1 document, we can open it, for instance, in Germany, and then the goods reach the internal customs in Kiev, and there the goods will be internally cleared.
Подскажите, есть ли еще вопросы? Может, я какой-то упустил момент, на который я не дал ответ?
Could you kindly tell whether there are any questions that I missed and haven't answered so far?
И все ли было понятно с моих слов?
And please let me know whether you have understood clearly what I have just said.
Yes, first, thank you very much for elaborating this overview. For us, it's very important to understand how NCTS application was received. We are very happy to find out that there are many positive aspects that improves the life of brokers and also of the traders in having their declarations done in a much quicker time. As a question, I would like to ask you if you already identified some impediments in using NCTS. And okay, this would be a first one.
Благодарю за такой детальный обзор и расширенные ответы. Для нас действительно важно понять, каким образом NCTS применяется. Мы очень рады тому, что есть ряд положительных аспектов в применении NCTS, что упрощает и улучшает деятельность брокеров и трейдеров и сокращает время оформления документов. У меня один вопрос, с которого хотелось бы начать. Выявили ли вы какие-либо трудности в использовании NCTS?
Ну, трудности есть всегда, но в любой работе, которая бы не имела свое начало, но, скажем так, каких-то глобальных, которые могли бы перешкоджати діяльності підприємства, да, такових не было. Государственная таможенная служба в 2021-2022 году провела колоссальную работу. И если вы интересуетесь и знаете, у нас по плану должно было быть приглашение в систему там 23-й, нам все прогнозировали, плюс 24 февраля началась большая агрессия Российской Федерации, как бы никто уже не верил в это. Но ребята сделали максимально результативную работу, и которую позволила нам вступить, стать участником конвенции 36-й страной в октябре 2022 года.
There are definitely always some challenges and difficulties in performing any activity. But as for some major difficulties, we haven't identified any. And you should know that the customs service has
application.
Excuse me, do they need for free or do they need to pay for using this application?
No, not to pay, but to develop their own internal NCTS application. Do they have a general one that they can access, or each broker or each economic operator needs to have their own one?
Насколько я понимаю, что брокеры также прошли обучение, тренинг по изучению NCTS. И у меня есть один небольшой дополнительный вопрос, который касается IT-приложения самого. Это транзитная система, которую предлагает государство. Вы можете использовать ее в неограниченном формате, или нужно для каждого экономического оператора разрабатывать свое приложение NCTS? You mean NCTS application or NCTS account?
Я понимаю, в чем вопрос. Нет, нужно проходить только регистрацию приложения. Платформа, она сама бесплатная. Если какая-то компания хочет разработать под свои личные нужды, тогда уже она разрабатывает самостоятельно. Но центральная платформа, она бесплатная.
No, they only need to register. The central platform can be used for free. However, in case a company needs to custom this application for their own needs, then they would need to develop their own application.
Thank you. I would also like to ask about the application itself, about the informatic system itself. If you already could say if it is a stable system or it happens that time to time it breaks, and what are the recovery measures in this case? Will the system be up and running very fast, or it needs some, let's say, improvements that can be done immediately, or these improvements take some time at the moment? I'm asking just following the idea that the system now it's still young, so of course you need some time in order to accommodate with the new procedures, the new system.
Хотела также задать вопрос по поводу использования самого приложения. Насколько система стабильна, и есть ли какие-то перерывы в работе, насколько это влияет, насколько быстро восстанавливается система, если есть какие-то перебои в ее работе. Я спрашиваю, потому что это новая система, и, возможно, необходимо какое-то время для того, чтобы улучшить ее и оптимизировать ее использование.
Илья, у нас есть представители IT-отдела государственной таможенной службы? Я могу добавить от себя, как от бизнеса, за последние полгода, таких критических каких-то проблем не возникало, чтобы все резко остановило работу. Их просто не было, в принципе. Но я думаю, что на этот ответ лучше бы дал ответ, если есть у нас специалисты IT-отдела.
Коллеги, я хотел бы пригласить к слову представителей Государственной таможенной службы Украины, национального координатора по вопросам NCTS Алину Брандак.
Здравствуйте. Я так понимаю, что мы сегодня собрались для того, чтобы поинформировать наших экспертов с EUBAM по поводу наших, скажем так, достижений в сфере NCTS. Поэтому для того, чтобы ускорить нашу коммуникацию, если остальные участники не против, я перейду на английский язык. So maybe to give some rest to Olga, I will switch into English and to speed up our conversation and discussion. So what I would like to say in terms of IT, it's not a secret that we are using the software that in fact is in use for a very long time by different countries, because this software was donated to Ukrainian Customs Service by Lithuanian Customs Administration, and that is why this is core functionality that has been in use, I think, from maybe 90s, so beginning of 2010 and something like that. So when we were hosting our pre-assessment mission from Digitax Sud, in fact, they were surprised to see the software they were developing in the very beginning and see if it's up and running. So they said that it was a very big surprise for them. As for the stability of the system, we can say that it works stable, and we don't face some big problems with the software. Of course, from time to time, we may face some technical issues and some problems when some services are down, but we have a help desk responsible for NCTS, which supports as business and representatives of Customs Administration, and we have very close contacts with main players on the market, considering that we have a few companies at the moment that dealing with NCTS, and Volodymyr is representing one of that companies. So we have mobile phones of each other, and we can get in touch even at night if it's a very urgent issue. Once we detect any issues in work of the system, we promptly receive relevant information. We inform our IT team. They go and check whether it's something wrong in really, and it's, I don't know, maybe sometimes it may take an hour or something like that. Indeed, we had problems with the work of software when we had very heavy missile attacks, and we had problems with electricity. So at that time, I think it took us, it was only once, maybe up to 12 hours to rise the system back. But in fact, it was not due to the problems with the system, but due to the electricity. So it was not something we could manage very fast. So in terms of software, although it's not really new computerized system, but it works, and we are fine with the stability of its work, and in case of any issues, we can fix them very quickly.
Thank you very much for sharing this. For me, it's quite impressive to find out that you have an online help desk that is available day and night. Not many countries, they do have such a service. From my previous experience, I would say that having this disponibility of the help desk helps a lot, especially in the beginning, because you need some time to adapt. As far as we would be concerned about the stability, as you already noticed, we should monitor this for sure, but I'm convinced that you are aware that even Digitaxud sends information to all the countries about scheduled unavailability of the system, or even sometimes this unavailability can be even unscheduled.
Yeah. So indeed, we know that, and we provide relevant information and populate it to Digitaxud systems. Once we have we had one planned unavailability of the system, because where we, in fact, on the 1st of October, we didn't start operation at midnight. We started them in the morning. So this was the one and the only planned unavailability. Yeah.
For me, this is extremely encouraging, because I have to tell you that in the beginning of my career, which it was 18 years ago, I was part of the NCTS implementation team. And I would say that this start is quite amazing, because we, for instance, faced at the beginning the situation that we had few transit operations, and then we realized that, okay, we have some issues with certain informatic messages, so we had to switch to the old procedure to fix some bugs, and then of course to go back to NCTS. So it's quite a process. The expectancy is not to be aligned right away, but of course, to be up and running, this is extremely important.
Yeah, indeed.
I want to ask you, let's presume that NCTS it's not available. Let's say that we cannot use it. What is the other alternative? So the economic operator who are not using NCTS, or the economic operators who are using the brokers, but they do not want to have NCTS. Do they use T1, or what other methods of declaring the transit?
Well, in fact, we when deciding to implement NCTS, we were understanding that it's a new system, as it was already discussed, and we have to implement it very carefully without any additional pressure to our business. And considering the fact that when we started live of the system, we had the war time and keep on having it. So the decision was taken to implement the system in parallel with existing system in Ukraine. So in fact, at the moment, we have two systems operating, and it's up to business to decide which system company would like to use. If goods are coming into Ukraine under T1 procedure, then they can go to the Inland Customs Office. It is not possible yet to use T1 for internal transit so far, but we have a draft law in our parliament that would authorize possibility to use NCTS for internal transit as well. So we go step by step to increase number of this common transit movements, but considering all circumstances and that our companies are facing with, we don't want to push the process very hard. But in the very end, NCTS will remain the only system for transit. But we don't make any decision on the precise date or year when it will happen. So we will just go step by step. And we understand that, for example, to use NCTS in full, you have to obtain simplifications. To obtain simplification, some time is needed. So it's not happens in one moment. Our guarantors have to adapt. All of parties of this process have to adapt, have to change their modus operandi. They have to proceed step by step. So we can say that
there are people to use NCTS, of course, it's a process.
How to use it. So this is how we are proceeding with this, and as it was said, it's up to each and every particular company to decide whether to use NCTS or not. But we encourage them to, we are saying that you have to understand that NCTS will remain the only system, and you'd better start preparing now than in 1 year or two. So this is how we are.
Yes, and of course, this transition period, let's call it like this, when you have the possibility to use either one system, either the other one, will have an end. It is true that for the ones operators who started earlier, let's say they will have more knowledge later on, and it will be easier. But we have not statistics, but we had some estimated percentage of the NCTS operations. Let's say having as a start the first 4 months of using NCTS. And this situation was presented by the national coordinator, Miss Alina Brandak. And because we have the pleasure to talk to her in person, I want to ask you, not as a very detailed explanation, just let's say a professional talk in order to understand better what's the situation. Among these countries to whom you sent NCTS operations. We've seen that, for instance, Belgium and Germany and Poland, they have higher numbers, but others like Romania, and I'm Romanian, so you have to understand that I'm a bit more concerned. I want to ask you, there are any issues with the Romanian brokers when it comes to NCTS, where what would be the reason that you don't have higher number of NCTS operations for the transit that are going through Romania?
Okay, so if to speak in numbers, indeed, they are not that high as they expected to be, because in fact, we were expecting numbers to be higher, but we have both sides of the coin to be considered. So on one hand, when we have export from Ukraine, this means that the same as the in EU, we would have export declaration. So in fact, we were not expecting a high number of movements going from Ukraine, but considering that our companies, including brokers, they were interested in that market, they were working with their clients, and they started to propose them to submit not only export declaration, but transit declaration as well, and to save that time on the border with neighboring countries. Mm-hmm. So this is the approach which was applied and is in place at the moment. And at the moment, we see that number of movements starting in Ukraine is higher, I think twice higher than number of movements coming into Ukraine under common transit procedure. Mm-hmm. So, in fact, my expectation and expectation of our team were that within a very short period, we would have many transit ending in Ukraine, started in other 35 countries of the convention. But unfortunately, it didn't happen so. Why it didn't happen? There were different reasons. First, need to update guarantees to cover Ukraine. Of course, some time is needed. Then we had those doubts and concerns of foreign business about the war in Ukraine and what would happen if they bring their goods under the common transit procedure in Ukraine and they will be destroyed. So we developed note for foreign companies that is published on our website, and we also distributed it to DigiTaxud, which published that note and a relevant infograph on CIRCAPS, which is website available for all contracting parties, and they address to national transit coordinators of different countries to further populate and inform about this note their companies. So we described their old risks and we draw attention of the foreign business that there are relevant provisions of the convention that say that there are provisions on force majeure, so which means that if goods will be destroyed as a result of missile attack or something like that, this falls under this force majeure circumstances, and they don't face in fact any risks. So at the moment we see and would like to encourage national customs administration of other 35 countries and relevant companies to not to open procedures that would be closed at the border with Ukraine, but to go through this borders and inland. With regard to Romania,
yes,
unfortunately, we have very few movements with Romania, and I know that some companies in Ukraine are interested in the transit moving through Romania or starting in Romania. But again, it's as far as I don't know whether we have at least 10 movements open in Romania under the common transit and going into Ukraine. There were some problems with, for example, using of foreign guarantees by some companies in Romania because of the procedure of additional authorization of that companies. For example, if one company which is registered in Romania would like to use Irish, for example, guarantee, there is special procedure that has to be followed, and we had problems with that. Additionally, we have cases when procedures that were expected to be ended in Ukraine or that were expected to go through Ukraine elsewhere, they are ended in Romania. And of course, this is the version of Customs Office of Destination, which is applied. Of course, the biggest problem in this case is our Polish border, because there we have but comparing many procedures ended because of lack of the knowledge or maybe practice they used to just to end procedure. And when they open T1 and see that goods supposed to go to Ukraine, they still keep on changing Customs Office of Destination and that procedure. So in fact, at the moment, we understand the need of explanation about the common transit, and there is no risks, and you can go to our website and find this note for foreign companies, because in fact we would like to encourage to open more procedures in 35 countries that are going to Ukraine, because even those numbers that we have for the procedure starting in Ukraine, they were not expected, because in fact goods can go out by transit declaration and afterward by export declaration and proceed the same procedure they were using before Ukraine became part of the Common Transit Convention, and open that procedure in Poland, Polish border crossing point or other border crossing point. At the same time, when we will have bigger numbers of authorized consignors, consignees, we understand that again those numbers may rise, but still we expect more coming into Ukraine. But unfortunately, we don't see that.
I would like to ask you something about the other direction of movement of goods. For example, we are very interested because you know for sure about this European Commission initiative, solidarity lanes for Ukraine, and we are very interested in the use of NCTS for the export from Ukraine, especially, you know, all the, let's say, agriculture goods. And how can NCTS, because I believe that it is a very good tool for customs and also for traders, how can we speed up using NCTS all the transports or the exports of agriculture goods from Ukraine to Europe to the world?
Well, it's very easy to do, I suppose. Your commission just have to adopt the resolution that none of the goods will be let into Europe if they don't have a T1 open in Ukraine. So this will be the very speed up process, because in fact we understand and we encourage, but without some decisions taken on the level of EU or maybe on the highest level by the government in Ukraine, we can't force business to do additional job, to spend additional money. And I believe we shouldn't do so, considering that our business is surviving at the moment. And to say that if you won't use NCTS, you won't go through the border. It's not the way it should work. If we didn't have war, if we had some, I don't know, just business as usual, it would be much more easier for us to convince more insisting our business to join NCTS. But at the moment, we don't want to do so. As far as I know, and I do participate in meetings with DG Move on Solidarity Lines, and there we were discussing how indeed NCTS may help. But in fact, without some additional decisions saying that, for example, if we are talking about EIR convention, there is a provision of this convention that such movements should have priority when crossing the border.
Yes.
For common transit procedure, we don't have such a provision included into the convention. So in fact, we are thinking of putting relevant provision into our customs code, but still it is a lot of steps and decisions that may help, and maybe with considering implementation of this I don't know how it's called correctly in English. I think some electronic queue or something like that.
Yeah, EQing.
So I believe that if we had such thoughts and discussions about that, maybe for the goods that already have a T1 started inland, this also might be considered for the prioritization of these movements, and only in this way giving some advantages but not putting additional pressure to the business, we may reach some increase in T1 starting in Ukraine. But we have to keep in mind that all this will cost additional money and time of our business.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So in fact, if we have, let's say, an export with cereals from Ukraine, and these cereals will go to Constanța port, they will have now T1 from Ukraine. That T1 will be closed at the border in Romania.
Why?
At Siret, let's say.
Well, they will have export declaration,
Yes.
which ended at the border with Romania, but T1 will stay effective until Constanța.
Yes. So only the export will be confirmed. Yes. And T1 will be valid, and it will be closed only when the goods will reach their destination, which is Constanța.
Yeah.
Okay. And after the transit will be closed, the goods will be moved to the ship, let's say, if they will choose this maritime transport.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Just as final remarks, we would like to ask you what's the situation now at the borders? Do you see any improvements? How your customs officers are doing? The brokers, do they see any light of the end of the tunnel? Or
Well, I am not aware of the whole situation at the border. I can just comment on NCTS part of the process, but what I may say is that at the moment, and considering the fact that our companies are not very eager to open common transit procedures inland, in fact, more than 90% of the common transit procedures are starting at the border. So at the Ukrainian side of the border. And that is why what I may say is only words of thankfulness to our customs officers at the border that additionally take this work and do this considering all circumstances and assist in increase in number of movements. But our goal is that common transit procedures were opened inland, because only in this way it would really speed up movement of goods. Because in fact now, instead of spending 30 hours on the side of the neighboring country, they spend 30 minutes, not hours, sorry, 30 minutes on Ukrainian side. Yeah. So
the pressure is even higher for your customs.
Now, considering the very low number of movements, it's not that high as it might be, but we have already few companies that obtain authorization for authorized consignor. So we expect them start movements inland, and we have very high interest of the companies in obtaining transit simplifications. And of course, it will take not 1 month and even not 1 year, but step by step, we hope that more and more transit procedures will be opened inland.
Do you think that if they would have, let's say, some dedicated lanes for exiting, because if they have all their paperwork done, it will be, let's say, quite visible that this authorized one, they pass the border quite easily, and the others, unfortunately, yeah, they do have to wait for having the paperwork.
Yeah, indeed, we had in the end of last year, we had a tour through the border with EU countries, and we were at the border with Romania in Porubny Siret, and there we were discussing possibility for these fast lines for the common transit movements. And in fact, I think this would be very encouraging, and this may work. So if we could start, and as far as I know, there were some discussions between the regional customs officers about the possibility to arrange such lines. So if we have those lines, indeed, it would encourage business to come to the border with already T1 opened.
Там, наверное, тоже люди.
Мира, мы вас видим.
Все забывают, что там еще
Thank you very much for taking your time to have this detailed discussion. If you would like to ask us something, or if you have any suggestions that we could implement in order to help you somehow, please share with us.
If you have a possibility to increase number of movements from Romania, you are very much welcome to do so.
I would want to tell you that we will have a similar talk with the brokers from Romania. But we wanted first to have a talk to you in order to understand better what are your challenges. And having this picture, we would like to see if there is any room of improvement when we talk to the Romanian brokers. Maybe we can find some solutions in order for you to work together even better. Maybe there are any lanes of collaboration that can be established.
Well, if we are talking about Romanian brokers that are holders of the transit procedures and that they provide their guarantees, first of all, the first task is to expand territorial validity of their guarantees to Ukraine. After that, if they see that the goods are going to Ukraine or through Ukraine, to make everything possible that transit procedure was open to proceed directly to Ukraine or through Ukraine, but not to be closed at the border. Yeah. So this is the thing I believe they are able to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. and have a nice weekend.
Yeah. Let's hope for better and for higher numbers of common transit.
Yes, indeed.
And to be healthy and
And
in a good mood. And let's say that we really hope that we'll see each other in much better conditions.
Yeah.
Dear Alina, thank you very much for your fruitful cooperation. And dear colleagues, thank you for your question. If you don't mind, I will continue in Russian that our colleagues, custom broker, understand which I want to say. My question will regarding cooperation with Association of Customs Brokers of Romania. Коллеги, в вашем предложении поспособствовать улучшению сотрудничества между Ассоциацией таможенных брокеров Украины и Ассоциацией таможенных брокеров Румынии, вы сказали, что вы можете поспособствовать. Мы будем вам очень благодарны, если на нашей встрече есть уже эти представители, они могут поделиться своим опытом и практиками. Если нет, тогда будем благодарны за предоставленные контакты и информацию.
Dear colleagues, as for your proposal for improving cooperation between associations of the customs brokers of Ukraine and Romania, we will appreciate that. And maybe we имеете в виду сейчас на встрече присутствуют.
Да, да.
Maybe there are the representatives at our meeting and they could comment.
Верно.
Întreba dacă
No.
președinții
No.
sunt reprezentați.
Unfortunately.
At the moment, we are just from EUBAM side. So no other representative of brokers is together with us in this meeting. But if you would suggest that we could have later on a meeting that will be with brokers from Romania and brokers from Ukraine and EUBAM, yes, I think we could think about this and maybe to arrange such an online meeting.
К сожалению, на данный момент присутствуют только представители EUBAM, а не представители таможенных брокеров из Румынии. Но если вы считаете, что такая совместная встреча будет полезной, то мы смогли бы ее организовать при совместном участии брокеров, представителей Ассоциации таможенных брокеров Румынии, Украины и EUBAM.
В таком случае, коллеги, большое вам спасибо за предоставленную информацию, за вопросы. Надеюсь, ответы, которые предоставили наши коллеги, были для вас полезны. Мы будем вам признательны за организацию такой встречи с вашими партнерами, с вашими коллегами. Надеюсь, она будет в скором времени.
Thank you very much for the provided information, for the questions you asked. I really hope that the provided answers have been useful, and we will appreciate arrangement of such meeting with all the representatives mentioned above, because it will be useful.
We thank you also very much for the fact that it was possible, our meeting, and it was organized, and we learned a lot of things, and we will try in the future to arrange such a meeting with some of the actors from Ukraine and Romanian side, and of course we will attend and organize this, because I think that the most important thing is just to communicate and to cooperate closer for the benefit, of course, of all parties, but especially for this very important issue, which is the exports of Ukraine through European Union and to the world, because it's a special situation, and we have to do everything to help and to support Ukraine. Thank you very much.
Yes, I also want to thank you very much for your time, for your disponibility. I want to wish you a very good weekend, to wish you good rest, and thank you for your support. And
Thank you, Olga, first of all.
yeah.
Благодарю за предоставленную информацию. Да, мы сделаем все возможное для организации данной встречи. И на сегодняшнем заседании мы узнали много новых вещей и полезной информации. Мы постараемся в будущем организовать встречу, упомянутую с представителем украинской и румынской сторон. И мы также будем принимать участие. Это очень важно — поддерживать коммуникацию и более тесное сотрудничество для преимущества и выгоды всех стран, но особенно что касается экспорта из Украины через страны ЕС и в другие страны мира, потому что на данный момент происходит особая ситуация, и мы должны сделать все возможное в наших силах для того, чтобы помочь Украине. Благодарим вас за предоставленное время, желаем хороших выходных и хорошего отдыха.
Thank you very much. We will provide all necessary assistance related with Ukrainian customs and customs authorities and customs brokers also. Коллеги, таможенные брокеры, большое спасибо, что присутствовали на нашей встрече. Будем рады встретиться снова на нашей площадке. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice day. Bye.
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 Goodbye, everyone.
I thank you
Thank you very
again,
much.
Olga.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure.